Welcome to the Sacred Ancestry Podcast, a show about discovering the true human potential. Let's dive deep into physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. I'm your host, Thomas Worm. As you remember that time you were a lead saw in the shot crew and the saw just quit working and you were a few miles from the trucks? Next thing you know, you're hiking down the mountain and all the way down to the trucks and you had to pull out the field kit for a chainsaw surgery. I know, I've been there. The whole crew is waiting on you and your stomach's just turning with this anxious feeling of like, I gotta get back, right? You started with the basics, a quick chain sharpen, filter cleaning, check the spark plug. There's nothing obvious, so you dumped out the fuel, noticed it was clear, like, oh shit. You put a different fuel in, tried to start it, but the pull cord wouldn't even pull. The engine seized. As you pulled out the piston tool and tore down the chainsaw to the foundation, you remember seeing a hot ember go into the filter. Your stomach turns even more, knowing that your crew needs you up on the hill. But it's important to have all the saws running, right? And the spare was already down for maintenance. After taking out the piston, it was easy to see the piston had a chunk missing, and all you had to do was swap it out for a new piston. You learned that this was no easy feat in the field, right? You got back to work and kicked some ash for the rest of the day. If your mind is like a chainsaw, then all you need is the right tool to fix the foundation. That tool is the breakthrough session, because your subconscious mind is what ignites your life with action. The mechanics of that ignition are your beliefs, values, and emotions. When you release anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt, it's like getting a rebuild from the inside out. The breakthrough session is leadership, because when you lead yourself before you lead others, they'll follow, right? So go to Mountain Mind Tricks and click on the Discovery Session button. Find a time, fill out the form. The Discovery Session is a free chat about where you are and where you want to be. So go to mountainmindtricks.com and sign up for a discovery session. That's mountainmindtricks.com. Electromagnetic frequencies, or EMFs, are affecting your body right now. The World Health Organization reports that EMFs can cause headaches, anxiety, depression, nausea, fatigue, loss of libido, and sleep disturbances. What if you could protect yourself from the EMF fogs and the 5G rollouts? I've been trying products from Essential Vibes and I noticed a huge difference. The live blood tests show that your blood flow increases with less globules. You sleep better, have more balance, and the muscle testing proves this. So go to mountainmindtricks.com/EMF protection to learn more. I was so impressed with these products, I had to add this to my natural wellness program. So check out Essential Vibes and go to mountainmindtricks.com/EMF protection. That's mountainmindtricks.com/EMF protection. I am so excited today for this amazing guest, David Mallory. He's one of my best friends, somebody I really look up to. Like, he's just an amazing wildland firefighter, and I'm so excited that he's going to be here sharing his wisdom today on the podcast. And David, can you introduce yourself and kind of tell the audience like how you got into wildland firefighting, how you got here and what you're doing now?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tom. Look forward to this and seeing where this can go. Um, I've been a wildland firefighter since 2012. Um, and I got into it because one of my college roommates did it for a summer, and he was just explaining the fact that, we get paid to camp and hike and travel and to cut down trees and to fight fire. And that just sounded super cool to me. So I just went with it and went down that rabbit hole. And here I am now, 8 years later, supervising my own fire crew. So it's been a long journey.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And what was that first season like for you? I mean, like getting into it, like where did you start and like where is your career taking you?
So I'm gonna be 100% honest. I was terrified my first season. I was terrified of fire, and I always was like worried about that I was gonna die. But I was in really, really good hands. I started on a contract engine, and from there I applied and I got in with a federal agency. And recently I've switched to a state agency, which has been an amazing transition. And I think you and I, Tom, I think we spent a season or two together, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, back in Wyoming, those were some of the best seasons ever. I mean, just our crew was so cohesive and amazing, and like those years are probably some of the best years of my fire career. And just look back to that engine and think like, wow, man, what an amazing time and what an amazing crew. And I think that kind of gets into a little bit of like, we worked together and we you know, we didn't really talk for a couple years, but then I started doing some of the work I'm doing, and you eventually reached out to me. So we have been doing, the last 6 months, like we did do some work with breakthrough sessions and things like that. So, it sounded like you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yes, yes, I do. But just to kind of go back a little bit, if that's okay, um, I've been thinking too quite a bit pretty recently about that crew that we had and trying to bring that wolf pack mentality that that whole module had, and slowly but surely implementing those ideas and that family like structure that we had, um if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That crew for sure felt like a wolf pack. Like everybody was so close knit.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was just taking a drink of water there. um if you don't mind repeating the last little bit of that question, I can take it from there if that works.
Yeah, so we were talking about, we met in Wyoming and worked on the engine for a couple years. We didn't really talk for a couple years after that, and then we started working together on some mental health stuff. And I think for people that don't know my story, and I've talked about it like all the time, basically, is all I talk about is our assistant engine captain that passed away, and how hard that was for me personally, and what it's done to my life. And I think there's a common thread for me and you because we were both there during that time, and it's definitely shaped both of our lives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I looked up to him as a mentor, and in a sense, a father figure, if you could say. And the time that I spent with him, I feel like I just um, I don't really know how to describe it. Just I try to take in as much as I could from him and just watch him and learn from him, and his leadership style, for better or for worse. I've I've tried to mirror in a sense, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so that experience kind of, I mean, for me, it was it was traumatic for me in a very sense of losing him so suddenly, and I think it's something that kind of a couple years later started to affect you, or maybe it would just um, stuff started to add on and pile on in your life, and that's where you reached out to me and we started talking about breakthrough sessions and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, kind of like what you're saying. I thought I had it all handled and figured out and kind of dealt with. But as the fire seasons, or I guess they're calling them fire years now, progressed, I just found it more and more difficult to keep my head in the game at all times. And I've been following the work that you'd been doing, and by happenstance, I just reached out to you. I think we had like a phone conversation or something, and I kind of hinted on that, hey, I'm struggling a little bit, and we just took it from there. And I had a breakthrough session with you, and you really just helped change a lot of things in my life since then, helped me reframe a whole lot, and really truly just changed my life. So big kudos and big thanks to you, Tom.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. You know, we did do a live interview about. We went really in depth into the breakthrough session and the work we did, and so I don't want to dig too deep into it. I just really want to say, like, it was amazing to work with you as a client because you're one of my best friends, and it was so amazing just to help you in that way. And I'm glad that we're even closer than we were now, and it's just like we have such a outstanding relationship now. It's beyond words, really. So like, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And so, you know, just to hit on it lightly, I mean, some of the, like, for people listening that are wondering about breakthrough sessions, like, could you just tell them like kind of your experience and what that was like, and after that we're gonna move on to some really cool stuff.
Yeah, so I've tried to talk with mental health professionals in the past, and it really got me nowhere. I left feeling discouraged, and after that breakthrough session, it was, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours, and I felt that I had covered more in that 4 to 6 hours than I had covered in the past trying to talk to anyone else. And I think it was a trust thing, you know. Uh, I was just talking with you, and am I allowed to shout them out on this?
Oh yeah, Alan and Cindy are here all the time, so
Awesome. Well, working with you and Alan and Cindy, uh, it was 4 to 6 hours, 180 degrees, life change.
yeah, that's a beautiful way to describe it. And kind of the way I like, the shortest way I can describe it for people is it's like 30 years of therapy in 8 hours or 6 hours, and it's huge. I mean, it is literally that big, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll repeat it again, but it was 4 to 6 hours. Uh, Hashed out a bunch of issues from my childhood, and some dealing with some of that trauma from losing, our captain. And ever since then, I've felt that I've been a better man and a better leader and a better firefighter.
Oh man, that's flipping amazing. So you went through a breakthrough session, and you kind of like achieved all these goals you had set out for, maybe like, yeah, you know, in like 5 years I'll be doing this and that, and it happened in like 6 months, which is really common after the breakthrough session. So like, I just gotta say, man, I'm proud of where you are and all the work you've done, and thank you for sharing all that, for, you know, helping people that are listening just break the stigma of like, man, mental health is real, and we got to talk about it, especially in the wildland fire community, because it's like at crisis levels right now. And I think after this season it's just going to be amplified, right? Because this year, we all know, 2020 was just insanity out there. And so I want to get more into, you know, some of the leadership principles that you've been working on using, integrating.
Yeah. And for those who might be listening, this this fire season or fire year is not yet over. And for some of us, it's looking like it's going to be a quick and early start at the beginning of next year. And I'm really concerned for the mental health of a lot of these wildland firefighters. Um, I've recently, as of this week, actually, just started teaching the basic S130, S190, and L180 courses to some rookie firefighters. And that's been pretty cool. I've never taught those courses before, and it was pretty eye opening to being able to share a lot of those experiences, not directly related to the job, but to some of the more nuanced things of the job, if that was a proper way to state that.
Yeah, kind of like, are you talking about like the human element of it all, of being a leader and being a wildland firefighter? Really, you talking more about the human element of all that?
Yeah, absolutely. The human factors is seeming to be a bigger and bigger piece of what we do out there. And you know, as some of you may know, it's getting hotter and drier, but we don't have to go down that. But uh, the the leadership stuff is definitely something that I've dived down that rabbit hole. I've listened and watched a lot of podcasts and videos from Jocko, and that's been pretty cool. And that's definitely really helped me out. And then today we were talking about, I'm going to butcher his name, but I believe his name is David Marquette or something like that. He was a submarine commander, and he's recently retired and started his own company. And
Is that the
um,
guy that did the turn the boat around, or turn
yes,
the? Okay,
yes,
yeah,
him. And it, I don't, I think that's the kind of leadership style that I'm trying to portray. Is I want to empower every single one of my firefighters to lead up and to be able to make those decisions on their own, give them that task, purpose, and end state so they can go forth and do good things and not always have to come to me with questions, and they'll be able to hash that stuff out as a crew, hash those problems out, come up with solutions on their own, so they're not always having to look to me for answers and trying to uh, always have me there. um
yeah.
I go ahead.
Oh, it's like, yeah, absolutely. And I think, part of that's like encouraging your firefighters to tap into their gifts or their talents. Like, we all have that guy on the crew that's like a mechanic. We all have that guy on the crew that's literally been a carpenter for 10 years in the wintertime. So it's like, man, those guys have skills. Like, and when we encourage them to use their specific skills, like the crew is just so much more well rounded and cohesive and even better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of this job is not fighting fire directly. It's working on our equipment and training and fixing stuff and building stuff, and trying to add on to our equipment and making tweaks on our engines and our dozers to make them more effective and make them run run better in different fuel types, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
and I have and I feel like I have that team in place here, and that's what I'm trying to do is tap into each of those individuals' specific skill set and have them mentor and help teach other people on the crew so we can all be better, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not the best carpenter and I'm not the best at fixing stuff, but I have what I feel is a pretty good baseline knowledge of that, and I've been learning tons from these guys each day, and it's been pretty powerful.
Do you have perfect health? Could you improve your sleep, immune system, or energy levels? What about muscle recovery or detoxing from the fire season? I've been using the essential oils for a few months now, and I've been getting perfect sleep. My immune system is top notch, and I feel amazing. Essential oils are plant allies that support our bodies in a million different ways. On Guard supports your immune system, lemon helps you detox the heavy metals from the smoke, and the peppermint will release your head tension in seconds. Support your healing journey and go to mountainmindtricks.com/essential-oils. Essential oils are hundreds of pounds of pure organic plant material pressed into a tiny amount of liquid, which means the essential oil is a powerful ally. So go to mountainmindtricks.com/essential-oils. That's mountainmindtricks.com/essential-oils. Oh, I love it, man. And just being able to go into that mindset of like, hey, you can be the leader in this situation. This person can lead me. I think that's so powerful for leadership, is to be able to step back and follow. And I think if somebody can't follow, then they can't lead. And I think that goes back and forth of it's a dynamic situation on a fire crew. Like sometimes there's a trainee crew boss, sometimes there's a trainee engine boss. And it's like if you can't let them truly be the leader, what's that say about yourself? And that's where we got to start looking deeper into ourselves. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Dave, because I think, to me, something I've been writing about a lot is internal leadership, which is, we got to lead ourselves inside, like deep inside, like breakthrough session deep, before we're really like flower and becoming that amazing leader that we can be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that was a bit of a struggle for me. That transition from being just a crew member to being in a leadership role. And it took me a good season and a half to truly grasp what that looked like and what that felt like and how to effectively accomplish that.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like you're going from everybody's your friend to all of a sudden, yeah, we're friends, but there's a little more meat to this relationship now because now, I'm responsible for you, right?
Exactly. And with that's a lot of added stress. I'm sure, as you know, is you have anywhere from 3 to 7 people's lives in your hands, and your decisions that you make on and off the fire line affect them. And one of the earliest lessons that I learned was, you can't please everyone out there. Your decisions, for better or for worse, might upset one person, 1 or 2 people, or perhaps even the entire crew. But at the end of the day, we we as leaders are getting orders and given tasks to accomplish, and as many people know, they're not always the most fun. We're not out there building direct line every day. Firefighting is like 90% mop up, right? So, after day 10 of mop up, crew morale can, kind of drop and people can start to get kind of cranky. So I've I've felt that it's pretty important to just, take 5 at 2 and sit the crew down and just try to check in with everyone and see how they're feeling and see how they're doing, and making sure that, if we have that opportunity to call home and talk to our families and check in with them, I feel like that's pretty important. And making sure that everyone is getting that good rest that we need, and eating properly is something that I really really try to do.
Yeah, it's, just like, sleep your people, feed your people, and pay your people, right? I mean, that's me and yours like staple of being a leader. It's so important to really focus on that stuff because if we don't cover the foundation, I mean, there's just nothing left, right? And we've really got to get that rest and sleep and proper nutrition. And I think, across the board, like especially as a nutritionist, like it's just a struggle to get good food on fires now. It's just all it is Skittles and Snickers and ham sandwiches, and it's like, man, there's like honestly, as a nutritionist, like
Little
we should be
nutrition.
eating, yeah, we should be eating MREs over the fire lunches, like 100%. As a nutritionist, I that's what I say.
Yeah,
And
I think there was a study that Missoula did. I do not remember. Missoula Technology and Development Center or something like that, MTDC. I think they studied like a group of jumpers or hot shots, and found that, yeah, like kind of like what you were saying, is their performance drops off towards the middle and end of season, and a big part of that is those fireline lunches. Like you're saying, it's all Cheetos and Snickers bars and crap sandwiches and nothing but meat and potatoes for breakfast, and the quality of that is of that food is just not what we should be putting into our bodies.
right, right. I mean, is Michael Phelps out there eating McDonald's every day or right before an Olympic trial? It's like, no way. Like, and I think there's kind of this stigma of like, I've heard this so many times of like, I'm just a firefighter, right? Like, we've all heard that, but it's like, no, like, wildland firefighters are seriously, they're peak athletes. They're actually professional athletes. And in some ways, like what you're talking about, some of the studies have shown that, like, the hot shots specifically, their bodies are at a whole different level of performance, like almost like beyond scientifically possible, which is so interesting because it's like we're all in the same category as ultra marathon runners. That's what we do. Like when we really have a hard season, and it's like, do those ultrathon marathon runners, do they live off McDonald's and Snickers and Cheetos? Like, no way. Those guys
No.
eat perfectly. And it's just insane to me that this hasn't been taken care of yet. And I'm really hoping that the grassroots movement's gonna really take, they're working on so many amazing things, and the comprehensive wellness portion of what they're doing is like, I really hope the food gets talked about because it's a huge piece of what we're dealing with. And honestly, a lot of that sugar and a lot of the poor foods, like, it adds to the mental health. I mean, it is definitely connected.
Yeah,
What
I
do you?
agree. I agree 100%. And I hate to, you know what? No, I'm not going to mention it, but I've seen some hotshot crews this year transition into more of a cooking for themselves. Crews going in with their per diem and cooking and having a camp trailer set up so they can spike out and cook their own food. And from what I've seen on social media, it's been like the pictures that they've posted is like, wow, this is what we need to be. This is what we need to all be eating every day. You know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like right there, that's the mindset that we all have as firefighters is like there's an obstacle, there's a roadblock to getting the job done. How are we going to get around it, go through it, or deal with it? And it's like that obstacle into an opportunity is like so critical for being good at our jobs, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, we have to be problem solvers, 100%. Every individual on that fire line, whether they're a first year firefighter or a 30-year IC, we're all problem solvers, right? And like you said, we're given problems and or obstacles, and like you said, reframing that into opportunities to make our culture as a whole better, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge, and I think that problem solving mindset is it's just built into the job because it's like I can't tell you how many times you've been out there like the line's blowing up and now the Mark III dies, right? Or the chainsaw dies right when you're getting into some hotline. It's like, oh my gosh, you got to solve the problem and you got to solve it right now, right? And there's it's everybody's had that happen to them on the line, and it just builds that character of what you're talking about earlier, like the human factors. Like that's why the human factors are so critical because in that moment you could either throw your chainsaw down the hill because I've seen that,
Yeah.
or you can sit there and put a new e-clip on and get back to work, right? And
Yeah.
that's the difference in I think that's the difference in like how we're raising our new firefighters, how we're leading people, like let's get off the old school mentality of beat the shit out of everybody and let's get back to like human factors, right?
And empowering our people to, it to be better firefighters because, you know, it a lot of that stuff is not taught in these basic level courses. Simple problem solving, and I don't know if that just comes with experience and building those mental slides over time, but there's definitely better ways and more effective ways to do this job than what they were doing in the past, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think just like everything else, this job, this career field, this profession is really evolving, and I think that's back to the grassroots theme. It's like really we're not forestry technicians anymore. That's just not the reality, and so we're evolving into this like really like high sought after profession that's really important. Like look at 2020. Look what happened. Like this isn't just some guys in the woods anymore. Like we're saving whole towns at this point. So it's there's so much more spotlight and so much more need for what we're doing. It's just it has to change because like even my experience this year in California was just like why are we going direct on this piece for 3 weeks when we could just burn it out and be done like 2 weeks ago, literally. And it's like those different styles of tactics and techniques and like it seems like there's some resistance to change in the old school kind of upper echelon, wouldn't you think?
I definitely agree with that 100%, but I've really seen a market shift over the last couple years. I could go on and on about the dumb places that I've had to put line. We have to catch this fire, a quarter mile off this road. We can't just let it come to the road and then burn it out. No, we have to go direct and we have to paint this whole road, and I've really seen a pretty good shift over the last couple years, at least in my experience of whoa, we have roads that we can hold. And we don't always have to go direct and put these people in just super nasty places. Um, I was up in Central Washington this summer, and I know that you've spent some time up there, and it's just incredibly steep, incredibly thick country up there, and those fires, unless you catch them at a single tree, they go 100,000, 300,000. Like, what's the next big fire up there? Is it going to be a half a million, or is it going to go a million? Is that going to be the next mega fire?
Right, right. And it's, how are we going to adapt to this new environment? And not that it's, some people I think have even resistance to that it's a new environment, but I truly think after seeing what I saw this year, some of the fire behavior I saw on the ground was like, yeah, I can see how that's possible, but it's not even this stuff that we're seeing is not even taught in S130 and S190. I mean, it's just different. Like the books are trash at this point, right?
Yeah, especially like where I am, they had a pretty historic fire season down here, and thankfully the instructors, excluding myself and some of the guys on the crew, have firsthand knowledge of these fires, and they're all saying it is 100% unprecedented. I've never seen this before, and it's a scary place to be in, because I feel that it's a sign of things to come this upcoming year, and the next 5 or 10 years. This extreme fire behavior, I know we've talked about this in the past. Is is extreme fire behavior the new norm? Is getting downhill crown runs at 10 in the morning, is that the new norm? Is fires making 100,000 acre runs in an afternoon the new norm? Like, I know when I started, 100,000 acres, oh, that's a big fire. And I feel like now it's like, 100,000 acres, like, and made that push yesterday afternoon, and it'll probably do the same today. And it's really scary to think that there's a bunch of 20 something year olds romping around the woods, like doing gangster stuff that a lot of the public doesn't get to see every day. And it I feel that it's more of a forethought for a lot of the public. And going back to that grassroots thing, that's it. They support us, and maybe that's it. Hopefully it'll be that good change that this community needs. you know
Yeah, absolutely. And just some of the things they're hitting on, like the health and wellness and mental health and the better pay and the wildland firefighter designation, all that stuff. We could go on forever about that, and it's like we all know it, we need it. And it's not every agency is like that, but the federal agencies are just dragging us in the dirt, right? And it's time for change, because it's needed, and we need better pay, we need better mental health. And I think that's where, like, I keep coming back to the human factors, because it's like we got to learn how to lead our people, not just like physically operational. We got to learn how to lead them mentally and emotionally through these fire seasons now, because it's a lot different than it was for sure 10 years ago, 14 years ago when I started. It's 100% different. Personally, that's just my experience. And how we transition that leadership into a better mental health, like what does that look like to you?
I think we're headed in the right direction. I think our leadership, when we got started, I think they were some of the first to get that buy-in. I think they were some of the first to see, hey, we need to do a better job at taking care of our guys. And uh, at least I feel that it they are doing their best to look out for us, and they're going to support our decisions, and they're not stuck in that old mentality. And with that kind of tagging off, that is, it comes back to us now. We are the new first second level of leadership on a lot of these fires. And if we impart our our desires to take care of those around us on new people, and keep expressing our desire to get better mental health, is it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, man, I love it, and as long as we're stepping forward in the right direction, we're succeeding. And honestly, there's I think from fire, just all these years, it's like there's no failure, there's only feedback, right? We're just growing as a community, and maybe there's some growing pains right now, and maybe things are changing, but I know in my heart that this community is by far one of the most important and like aggressively happy communities I've ever been a part of in my life. And that's why I'm so enthralled with like being in and helping wildland firefighters, because it's just, man, these people are literally like heroes. They're amazing people in my mind, like super athletes that are like doing gangster shit in the woods, like you said. And it's just like that's what we're doing, right? I mean, it's fun, it's amazing, and there is that mental health cost that it's huge. I'm so happy there's more and more talk about it going on. There's more companies popping up, there's more foundations popping up. There's going to be a time when forestry technicians are wildland firefighters, and there's going to be a time when we actually get the support that we need on kind of all levels of life. And that's my hope.
I don't know if it's just the circle, I guess you could say, that I'm running in. Not like actually running in a circle, but like the stuff I'm seeing on social media. But I agree. I've seen a lot more of that, even in the last few months. I think the public is starting to get a better understanding of what we do, and I really feel that they're reaching out and really trying their best to support us. And they, at least I feel that they really want to help, not just like with water and Gatorade and snacks. Like, no, I really feel like what I've seen is they really do genuinely care. And they really do see the struggles that we go through, and they're really starting to understand how difficult this job actually is.
Yeah, yeah, and something like what you said before was how the study that Missoula Labs did about the hot shots and jumpers, like, yeah, they were peak performance June, like July, but August, September, they're like starting to dip down to the end of the season. Like we've all seen the hot shot crew come to the chow line, and they look literally malnourished. Like they're skinny, like their muscles are gone, like they have bigger bellies, like they look malnourished, like literally from a medical standpoint. And I think that's really common in the September, October fires. And it's not by accident. It's like what we've been talking about is the nutrition and the extreme endurance that we're putting on our bodies. And I kind of want to pivot a little bit to the PT programs that you've been talking about, that me and you both have been implementing. And it's like, one, it's not just a PT program, it's a wellness program, right? So we really got to talk about mind, body, spirit wellness, but also the PT program shouldn't be, run every day, do CrossFit the next day, do a Tabata, like endurance circuit. And it's like cardio, 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 right? And something that something I read in my when I was getting certified as a fitness trainer was about basically like marathon runners are more likely to have heart attacks, and because the overtraining actually like hardens the arteries and overdevelops the heart muscle. And it's like, oh, when I read that, I immediately thought about wildland firefighting, because that's exactly what we do. And you look at like the trends, is like the number one thing for firefighters is heart attack, right? And it's like there is a correlation there that, I don't have the study, there, I'm not a cardiologist, but I think there's something there, right? So it's like our PT programs at the lowest level need to start thinking differently, right?
More functional fitness and actually doing exercises at appropriate volumes throughout the season. We can all try to, at the beginning of the season, try to get to that. I'll get to a baseline, but then, come August, do we really need to be running 10 miles? And then the next day, like you said, do we really need to be pounding out that 2 hour super intense CrossFit? Like, are we really doing ourselves a is this even a word, a disjustice? Did I use that properly?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what you're saying is like, I'll just tell a story here a little bit of like, you know, seeing Rabdo on the fire line. It's like, yeah, we PT in the morning. Like, I was watching this guy do these huge squats and like doing this CrossFit workout. And then next thing you know, like 2 hours later, we're getting flown into a fire and the hike is just brutal, right? And yeah, that guy went down with Rabdo. And it's like, that is actually a common story. Like rhabdomyolysis is super common and it's very serious, like at the later stages. So it's like there's health concerns with PTing so freaking crazy that you're actually damaging the crew, you're damaging the morale. Where it's like, if we added in, functional fitness, hiking, like yoga, like actually having a well-rounded program, not just run cardio, run cardio. It's like, man, there's so much better firefighters at that point than the old school just run it out.
Yeah, and I've that wasn't mentioned in S-130 Rabdo, and all that that section in that class teaches is heat stress, heat exhaustion, dehydration, and heat stroke. And I was like, whoa, that's not enough. Like, we really need to look at rhabdo. And like, I took it upon myself to just kind of try to dive down that rabbit hole for like 20 minutes and like really explain it, and just try to make my guys aware of, hey, we're not gonna, bang our heads into the wall every day just because we can. If it's a super high fire danger day, like, let's have an easy PT, and then let's rehydrate, get some good food into us, and let's have a slow afternoon where we're ready for the big one.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a mindset shift that's newer, because how many times have you gone on a severity assignment and it's 110 degrees out and you're PTing at 2 in the afternoon and you get a fire call? Like, that's happened to me so many times, right? And I think that's like, that used to be the norm, where now it's like exactly what you're saying, man. Like there's this culture shift happening, and I just love this conversation because there's so much. And like what you're talking about, like the rhabdo's not even in the books, but we see it. I mean, you see that on like at least every season there's one or two, like minimum, right?
Yeah, exactly. And kind of tagging off what you just said, like, I remember a few years ago we were in severity, and it didn't matter. We were just out cutting 10 hours a day, and then we had a fire in the afternoon. At the end of shift, we're driving home from the cutting unit, and then we had to go and do our job. And it was, actually, that might have been a fire that you were on. Does that sound about right?
Oh yeah, that's happened so many flipping times. You're cutting all day, like getting into it, and you're like busting your ass right. You've got like, 100 trees on the ground, and everything's awesome. And then you get back in the engine, and like a mile or two down the road, you're like, man, what am I gonna be doing tonight? And then the fire call comes in. You're like, fudge.
And
I'm
then your body is, I don't want to say completely broken, but like you're hurting, you're tired, your head's probably not in the game. So all you're doing is thinking about going home and eating and relaxing, but here you go for the next possibly 24 hours. You have to go out and do gangster shit in the woods, and it's just, like I said, we just banging our heads against the wall instead of actually being smart about it. And like you said, I've seen a major shift in the last couple of years of just being smart. You know, we're gonna like I said. Oh, it's a fire day. We're gonna have an easy PT, get a good sweat, and then we're gonna go and actually be ready to go do our job instead of going out and cutting for 10 hours or going out and doing some sort of crazy project work and then be completely gassed a half mile into our hike and then not even be able to finish the hike.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it happens all the time. And so man, we've hit on so much today. I mean, like leadership and mental health and PT and performance and I'm curious, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to hit on?
I don't know. I can keep going down all these rabbit holes if you want me to. We can talk about aliens if that's appropriate.
Oh yeah, love it, man. Yeah. And gosh, yeah, there's just so much to talk about because there's a million rabbit holes we can go down and I think really looking at it all, it's what an amazing career I had. What an amazing job it all is. And I just want to shout out to all the wildland firefighters and be like, man, you like all of you are just in my thoughts all the time and prayers and blessings because it's just an amazing thing that you do. And I just love this community. And man, thank you, Dave, for coming on the show because this is so much fun. And I hope you come back because we can just go down rabbit holes all day long, right?
Let's do it, man. I'm
Yeah.
so down.
It was so much fun. So much fun just bullshitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I mean we might as well go down like the Bigfoot realm, because I mean that's something people have like like I've seen on social media like, well, that person got demobbed for even talking about it. It's like, well, let's fucking talk about it because like
People are
I've had.
getting emo for talking about Bigfoot? What?
Yeah, I saw that in one of the major Facebook groups and I was like, wow, that's crazy to hear. But yeah, somebody was commenting about that and it's so interesting because it's like, I mean, who cares why would you get demo for that? But it's still like I think it's a I mean, obviously it's a fringe topic, but there's people that have seen that on the fire line, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen stuff out there that I can't explain, but I'm not going to go out and send someone home for, acting kind of goofy, right? I think that's a bit much.
Well, I think that's what I call like day 12 when you get the skits, right? That's what I call it when it's just
Oh,
like, dude, you're so insane and hungry and sleep deprived that you're just like the whole crew's just kind of in insanity at that point, like day 12. Like it's almost my favorite time of the role, actually.
yeah, we've all been working together and we've all formed and stormed and normed, right? And we can even, go down these rabbit holes and just talk about whatever we want. It becomes a family, and it's crazy how quickly that happens. After 12 days together, like you feel like you've known that person for years.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's crazy how close we get out there on the line because it's like it's really like brother and sister. Like it's that hardcore of a bond. Like in 12 days, 14 days,
Hey,
season.
brother.
Yeah,
Brother.
absolutely, man. All right, man. Any last thoughts on here?
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Yeah,
Let's do this again.
yeah, so much fun. And yeah, let's go down some awesome rabbit holes next time. And thank you so much. And are you interested in sharing like your Facebook, or do you want people to reach out to you at all, or anything like that?
Um, yeah, I have no problem with that. Uh, David Mallory on Facebook. I don't know if you can post the link in this, if that's something that's possible, but that's
Yep. Yep. Show notes. I'll put your Facebook there so people can reach out to you. And yeah, man, like everybody listening, just reach out to Dave because he's an amazing guy and he's just gonna brighten your day like immediately. That's what he does for me. It's just like, oh shit, I gotta talk to Dave, right? Because just my stoke level goes up every time we talk. So thank you, and thanks for being on the show. It's been such a fun conversation, and I think we're just helping people break the stigma, and that's so important because whatever you think you are so much more than that, and just go out there and find your sacred ancestry because it's going to be amazing.
absolutely. Hey, can I give a shout out real quick?
Yeah, do it.
Is that something that's possible?
Yep.
Can I name the crew? Is that
Yep.
something that's okay? Yeah,
Do it.
I'd like to give a shout out to my old engine 472 cats. Y'all keep doing the good work in Arizona. Y'all know who you are.
Love it, man. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Later, y'all.